Sometimes, in trying to mute the stream, in fact, you make things louder because that's how you roll. But with that, we are ready to go with our second match. I am going to update MooBot and everything once we get started, but I think everyone wants to see a race, so I will turn things over to our commentary team for this race, Obdajr Jr. and Penguinator.
Hello, my name is Penguinator,
Hey, I'm Onda Junior.
and welcome to the second match of the Highway to the Zemus-Zone playoff finals. So what's at stake today, Abda?
Well, this is round number 2 of our 3-round match between our top 8 players. Two players were eliminated in the last race, and 2 will be eliminated in this one. The third race being the final, and only the winner counts in that one. We're just going to crown our champion on the third race coming up after this one.
And we'll do a quick introduction of the racers who are continuing on in this race. On the screen now, we have riversmccown, neerrm, and Nightdew. And we also have Invenerable, Scratchdragon, and elmagus, who will be shown later on. We'll be rotating the screen so you get to see everyone. So all 6 are racing at the same time.
And we're off, and we have a Tella Edwards start, which is not really what you want to see. But these guys will make it work.
So yep, we do have the classic spoony start of Edward and Tella. It's going to be a tough one, potentially.
And we're gonna want to look out for riversmccown. He took the first race down, full minutes ahead of everyone else with a risky play of skipping a character, and with that it just kind of fell into his lap, not having to check a few things that didn't really pan out for the rest of the players.
And so the starting item was the package. So there will be potentially another character available to start out, which may ease some of the early difficulty. Although in Baron N we see another copy of Edward.
And we're playing on the flags C3, which means that there's only 5 characters going to be available on each of these races with lots of duplicates. You're going to want to find your team fairly quickly, hopefully. It looks like for treasures, we've got a couple good staffs, and a silent staff and a lunar staff, but not too much else.
So switching to the other runners, looks like they're all doing more or less similar starts. Just looking for some items in Baron and probably elsewhere after that. Just trying to find some things to help them out, maybe some things to sell so they can buy other items in the shops.
Yep, and we see exits in the first shop here, which is great because you don't have to worry about leaving places till later until you have exit. On top of that, though, Tella starts with exit and 90 MP to use. So buying those might have been a little bit of a trap, but they're cheap anyway, so no big deal either way. Yeah, so we're just doing our initial chest checks, which is pretty standard. It looked like all 6 of our runners started on Baron this time. Last time we had a little bit of deviation right off the start.
I just want to pop in and give my apologies. The Rivers delay was on my side. He did start at the right time.
All right, thank you, Natara. So we do see elmagus checking the package character. Looks like it is Yang, so they will have a third character. Not super strong early, so that maybe some difficulty killing bosses to start out. But Yang certainly will get stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah, and not really what you want to see. You kind of want one of those carry characters, Palom or one of the 2 major characters, to kind of get some direction towards where your damage is going to go in the early game. But Yang's got some life. He's got some claws. He can do some stuff. So might as well pick him up. You're going to have to eventually anyways.
And yeah, often we wouldn't go for this package character because it does take quite a while. There are multiple cutscenes to go through. But with Edward and Tella, those are 2 of the weakest characters in the game, so it does help to have an extra character for sure.
Mm-hmm. Finding your third character is pretty important, and anyways, if you get items that you need to use, just having an extra set of hands is always nice for these very early fights.
So Inven and elmagus are picking up Yang, and Scratch, meanwhile, is doing some more item hunting. went to Terraria. There are 2 item shops there, as well as some nice treasure chests in the castle. So he's just still looking around. I didn't notice if he got anything particularly useful.
Mm-hmm. I find with these bad early game characters, you really want to loot everything that you can to find something to help you out. Otherwise, you're going to try bosses and you're going to get stuck on a decent number of them.
Mm-hmm. And if they can find a dancing dagger for Edward, that will help out a lot early on.
That would be fantastic. Or some sort of good bow with good arrows would be very nice as well. We see elmagus starting up the Lunar Dragon fight here on the Kaipo Inn fight. Fortunately, does not have very much HP, and they can toss some healing items and spells at them to make quick work.
Mm-hmm. They are undead, so healing actually damages them. So fairly easy fight. It's the easiest spot in the game because it's so early.
Yeah, for all of Tella's misgivings, he does start with Cure 2, which is nice. We see Mist Dragon on Hobbs.
And that is a bonus round because once you kill Mist Dragon, you can get a bonus key item by visiting Rydia's mom in the Mist Village.
Also Sid. Sid is a great early game character. He starts pretty decent level with decent attack power. He can clear out a decent chunk of the overworld just with his wood hammer and his 700 plus HP to start out with, which is really quite a nice find. So if people are going to be skipping Hobbs, there's quite a bit of value that they're missing out on.
And Scratch, it looks like, does have a rune axe, if I remember the colors correctly, which is Sid's best weapon. So he's pretty happy to find Sid, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that shows us 4 out of 5 of our final characters: Edward, Yang, Tella, and Sid.
We have Cecil over on Invenerable's side. Oh no, yeah, Cecil over on Invenerable's side too. So that's our 5th character.
Now, is that Cecil or is that just the glitch that sometimes happens where you get on-screen Cecil? Because I don't think there are any other spots open.
You are correct.
So 5th character still up in the air. Still could be Cecil, still could be anyone else. Alright, so Scratch, not too much trouble on that Mist Dragon fight, so he'll, looks like, clear out the items on Mount Hobbs and probably check that item in Mist shortly thereafter.
Yeah, and when you have an abundance of exit spells and items, you can check these items that are a little bit more out of the way without too much problem. Always want to have Sid in the middle if you can. Not only is he slow, which helps your agility sink, but it gives you extra accuracy, which all his weapons are just awful with, especially the rune axe.
So elmagus headed to Antlion Cave to do his first key item check, and also check all those treasure chests, see if he finds anything good.
Yep, and with Sid, you can do these fairly simply. He hasn't found a good bow or an arrow or anything, but you can just swing away with Sid and be fine.
And only 1000 HP at the Antlion spot, so not too much trouble to get through in most cases. So like Invenerable got stuck in the Kaipo shop. There's an NPC there that likes to block you in, so he just exited out of there. One nice thing about having Tella early.
Yeah, he exited out and he actually is checking the weapon shop afterwards, which is fine. He might even check he's checking the Sand Ruby spot. Oh, and he sees the other bearded old man up there. That'll be a great find if he can find the Sand Ruby, and he'll have some knowledge that some of these other runners don't have.
And so now we know all 5 characters, Fusoya being the 5th.
Yeah, Fusoya would trivialize the beginning of the game here, but the Sand Ruby can be anywhere. We could find him in another spot though, so keep your eyes open.
So how do you feel about this character lineup for, I guess, the rest of the game and Zeromus in particular?
It's not too bad. You have kind of the 2 beefy fighters that are lower in the damage, but you do have 2 sources of weak in Tella and Fusia, and Edward's a beast all the time, no exceptions. So, in terms of fighting Zeromus, I don't think you want to do a reflex strat. You're probably going to end up with a berserk style fighting with your Yang and Sid. But you have a lot of options open to you in terms of getting to that point in terms of experience.
Yeah, I agree. Likely twin berserker strats. It's very hard to pull off reflex strats with just Fusoya essentially as offensive spellcasting.
Yeah, unless you find a lot of elixirs, something like that. You're gonna be using your physical attack damage more often than not when you get to Zeromus. Having Fusia for the rest of the game is gonna be fantastic though once they get there.
So Nightdew looks to be checking the Miss character, and he did already do the package, so no cutscene there.
Yep. Find silk webs in a shop here too on River's side. Those are great to have. Ooh, darkness crystal from the Mist Dragon spot too.
We could so that potentially gives another character on the moon. Maybe Fusoya's there as well.
Yeah, and if you find Fusoya on the moon, you can just immediately go to the giant and grind up to level 60. If he wants. That might be just kind of the best way to go about this. You won't be struggling in the entire game.
Or even going to Ordeal and getting till a week, you could do that.
Yeah, that works too.
The runners may opt to try to get 10 key items first. We'll see.
It's a little sketchy with Tele, since yes, he can only cast weak 3 times before you have to heal his MP.
Those NPCs for Nightdew and Mist Village are causing a little bit of trouble. Usually you don't see them because they only appear after you trigger the package cutscene. So it's only this particular set of events where you do package and then come back for the item.
And we find Mylon Z in the... I believe that's Baron Ann. Should be a pretty quick... okay, it should be a pretty slow fight, but they'll get there without too much problems.
Mylon Z also vulnerable to curing because he is undead as well. So we saw telecasting cure too.
Now you see neerrm going for the miss check as well. We'll see what he does with his darkness crystal. I know he's a little bit more prone to do riskier strats than some of these other runners.
So that Mylon Z was at Fabul, so Rivers will potentially get a key item there.
Oh, okay. Ooh, he gets the Baron key. That's interesting because now he can chain the Baron into going to Baron. I think he has enough strength to do that whole chain. And you get a character and a key, and 2 key items. You can even check Odin if you're feeling frisky.
The tracker is showing Pan for Rivers as well. I did not notice where that showed up. I'm guessing Antlion Cave.
Yeah, I didn't catch where that came from.
So that Pan does kind of make you want to go underground as soon as you can because it gives 2 or 3 key items depending on how you look at it, potentially.
That said, we haven't found a source of underground access yet, and we're looking at Baron, we're looking at potentially Ordeals for that right now.
That would be the Magma Key or the Hook. And Magma Key, of course, is the easier option of the 2, but sometimes you're forced to go the Hook route.
Yeah, and the Hook route might be a bit difficult with this party unless you have already done Ordeals as well. With Ordeals done, Tela can cast some spells that might get you through. I don't think we found Sirens yet either, so getting the experience might be a bit more difficult. And we see Invenerable going to the moon. As we switch over to our other 3 runners here. We have 6 racers today. 4 will move on to the final round, and 2 will be eliminated in this round, and in the final round, we'll crown our champion.
So I would guess Invenerable is only there to check the shop and the character spot. He could make some risky plays, try some bosses, see if there's anything doable, or, as you mentioned earlier, go for some grinding. On
Yeah,
Scratch's side, we see him heading up Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, it's a good play by him. I think Ordeals is one of the riskier things to do, but he's probably recognizing that Underworld access has to be somewhere, and it can't be on the moon with these flag sets as far as I remember. And he's got Tella, which gives extra value to Ordeals. Vener's going to check the lunar character here. As Elmagus finishes up Fabul. Oh, and it is Fusoya. He's jumping for joy.
So the vanilla Fusoya. So it's actually fairly easy to get all the characters then. Actually, all of them are available just from Darkness and Package.
Yeah. Oh, that opens up so much for him. It depends on what spells Fusoya has right now, because we are playing on a challenge flag set where Fusoya you need to beat bosses to gain spells and life for Fusoya. But if he's got weak, which usually ends up being one of the later spells that he gets, he can grind off D-Machines without any problems and get super duper strong.
And with Fusoya being the early game powerhouse that he is, we'll see Invenerable should have a much easier time going forward, especially as Fusoya powers up with more boss fights.
Indeed, we see Scratch fighting Leviathan, having a bit of trouble, but Sid's got enough HP where he's taking about 200 damage from Ice 2s, and he should be fine.
And Leviathan is not too scary. Looks like Scratch did not do the package yet to get Yang, but he does have Rune Axe on Sid, so that's pretty good damage and pretty good HP to be able to hold on.
Venerable checking his spells. He's got a group of level 2 elemental spells, but nothing really else. So he's gonna look to boss hunt likely, and he hasn't checked the Antlion Cave yet, so he's gonna go do that. It looks like he's even just skipping all the chests.
Yeah, he must be feeling pretty confident now that he has Fusoya, only getting that one chest that's right on the path, not even going to the save room. And if he has a good weapon for Sid, that's pretty much all the items he really cares about with this party.
Yeah, everything else is going to be incidental. He's got enough to, with just Sid, he can berserk and kill Zeromus, albeit with some troubles. But all he needs is levels to win the fight, likely. With Fusoya being, how he is.
All right, and Artemis Bow is on Mount Ordeals. Scratchdragon just picked that up.
Not the thing you're looking for, but at least it makes Edward relevant.
It's a pretty good option, either for Sid or Edward, actually.
That's true. He could have Sid rock the bow and go to town.
And with that, I think we've seen everything available except for Baron Inn in terms of key items currently. So that must lead to underground access.
We have the Baron Key as well, so we can go the whole way through there.
Good point. So it could be there as well. So something in Baron.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see if someone actually completely skips the underground with something they find in Baron and just goes to the moon. But they'd need something like sirens or I don't even know.
Well, as you mentioned, we can't even do a D-Machine grind.
Oh, that's true.
We have Darkness Crystal.
So all they need to do...
Crystal.
Yep, they could just fight a boss, get weak, and then go to town. Yeah, Fusoya starts at level 50, but he's been nerfed on these flag sets, so he starts with 500 HP and only very basic spells. Every time you fight a boss, he gets 100 HP and 3 of his spells back. That just makes it so when you get Fusuya in the early game, he doesn't just completely wreck everything.
So elmagus also doing the Mount Ordeals play, so looking to get Tella his spells. elmagus does not have the Darkness Crystal yet, so he did not pick up Fusuya.
No, I believe... I haven't seen the other three in a bit here, but I think Invenerable was the only one that's checked the moon so far.
So I think Darkness was at Mist with Rudia's mom. So elmagus should have that open since he has Sid, since the Mist Dragon fight was on Hobbs. So I guess he just hasn't made his way back there yet. And Invenerable hitting up Mount Ordeals as well.
That could be a pretty critical mistake if he actually ends up forgetting to do that. Because the Darkness Seed could open up the entire... or the Darkness Crystal could open up the whole seed. Potentially.
Definitely Ordeals makes sense here. We've got Tella, who's eager to get the rest of his spells, and Fusuya also gets 3 fights there to gain 9 extra spells. So definitely a good option in this position.
Yeah, absolutely. Although the key item's not... or there's no key item on top of the mountain, that's still a... you know, you're still getting value for... even if it's not what you want. We see Scratchdragon actually picking up some lightning arrows, saying better than nothing, throwing on the Artemis bow, and hoping Edward can actually do something.
Yeah, even with the very weak arrows of lit arrows, Artemis bow is pretty strong. Big stat bonuses as well.
Yeah, you really want to find your poison or charm arrows, something that gives some attack power, but you know what? You got an Artemis bow, you better use it. Okay, we have Nightdew on the moon. Looks like he picked up Fusuya as well, and he's gonna... oh, he's actually gonna do some searching.
Might just be this shop.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, looks to be heading to the Hummingway shop.
The
River is also headed to the moon.
The other thing you can do on the moon right now is there is a trap chest in one of the lunar cave, or yeah, the lunar pathways that has 4 blow dryer enemies, which can yield quite a bit of experience, especially with if you can use the life glitch to double the experience on 3 of them, and an hourglass to make sure they don't kill you.
Checking with neerrm, he does have his full party, so he's been to the moon and back, and now he's just clearing the overworld key item spots. Just did Antlion, making his way to Fabul.
Find some strength rings in Fabul's shop. They're expensive, but he's got 2 fighters that can make really good use of them.
That nice +5 strength bonus, always helpful.
Rivers is heading back to the Crystal Palace now. Is he gonna start diving? Oh no, he hasn't checked his character yet.
Yeah, so it seems like everyone's just checking the shop and getting Fusuya and probably heading back. As we see Nightdew doing.
So we're 22 minutes into the seed, and everyone's kind of done most of the same checks now. No one's found underworld access. I'm thinking that Baron Key's gotta have it.
I don't think we've seen anyone do Baron in on screen yet.
Yeah. So it's got to be somewhere in Baron. And there can't be any fancy Mist Dragon spots because we've already checked that. So
I'd actually have some other streams up on the side. It looks like Hook was at Baron Inn.
oh,
So that is one possible way to access the underground.
With the Hook at Baron Inn, they might try to do Baron anyways. There's 2 more bosses for Fusuya to skill up to make sure he's got the right spells you need to dive the tower.
And maybe find the magma key there if they're lucky.
Yeah, that could be too.
Do you remember who the boss was at Baron Inn at the beginning? Or sorry, at Baron Castle, I mean.
I did not. Make a note of it. But we'll find out soon enough, since it looks like that's where everyone's kind of getting funneled into.
So Rivers and Nightdew rounding up the ordeal spot. Should be powering up their spellcasters.
And Fusaya is already looking fantastic. I've seen him cast Cure 4 and Ice 3 already.
Yeah, so with those spells, shouldn't have much trouble at all in these ordeals bosses.
Yeah. And likely that's enough to get through the Tower of Babel on the top side too. But, well, yeah, they have a good party to dive the tower, because Sid and Yang have a lot of HP, so if you run into something like Dark Knight Cecil on the King Queen Evelyn spot, which is a nightmare, you won't have to do too much leveling to get enough HP to survive.
And having Edward can come in handy in some tricky situations too.
He's contributing, I swear.
So question chat, where did Rivers get Hook? So the Hook was at Baron Inn.
Yeah, so it looks like he picked it up too while we weren't watching.
Yeah, we do have 6 racers today, so we're swapping between the 2 sets of 3, so not quite catching everything that happens, but we'll try to keep you updated with everyone.
The fact is, it looks like all 6 of our runners are going to be pretty much clearing most of the overworld and then needing to go into the tower. Unless there is a magma key sitting on the throne of Baron, we're gonna have to take note of who passes through the tower first, and that'll kind of give us a good idea of who's in the lead.
With that pan sitting in the inventory, that somewhat makes the Hook more enticing, getting to the underground faster for all those key items.
Absolutely, that's basically 4 key items that you can get in the underground without having to do any fighting. And with this team, you're very able to do Dwarf Castle, regardless of what boss it is. And even you might even be able to do the top of the tower, the Lugai spot, although that might be a bit more sketchy. And no one wants to do that without the tower key anyways. Oh, we see Plague. It looks like Invenerable is in Baron, so...
Yeah, I believe this is the Baron Inn second fight.
Oh, okay. It was somewhere in Baron, at least, as the backdrop tells us.
So Plague pops that Doom counter on you, so you need to kill him quickly, or you can kill off your own characters, revive them, and then Plague will refresh the count, which actually affects everyone, so it buys you another 10 counts of that. It looks like he didn't actually need to do that, managed to kill off Plague before the count expired.
Plague is an interesting fight. There's a few different ways to fight him that can guarantee you victory, but in this case, arrows, flying enemy, just go to town. And we have Fusaya with some crazy spells as well.
So we do see Invenerable pick up that Hook, and elmagus will get it shortly thereafter. And Scratch is using his Hook, going to Eblon Cave. We'll see if he commits to it or not.
Yep, we see Invenerable doesn't have the Baron key, so he doesn't really have another choice. He's gonna gear up to go to the tower. Scratch taking time to change his text boxes.
I don't know if one of these races comes down to the second. We've seen an exact tie in the playoffs already.
That's the kind of play that gets you named or gets named after you do something like that. Ooh, he sells 2 silent staffs.
So there are Cure 3s for sale down here. They are guaranteed to be somewhere in C3.
Yeah, and you're not guaranteed a white mage, so you need some way to shrug off the big bang damage, so that was a decision that was made on the development standpoint. Good choice.
And the Illusions and Bacchus in this shop, all potentially very useful items.
So bad news for Invenerable. He's fighting bosses to power up his Fusuya. He gets one of the free bosses bit down here where he would rather have something difficult.
Rather see the free bosses at harder spots like the moon.
Fortunately, Windquake and you get to power up your Fusuya. It's pretty worth it anyways.
So elmagus headed into Baron Castle. We'll get to see what's waiting there.
I'm excited for this one. I think this is a check that not everyone's going to do, and if it's something big, then we'll actually have a real lead.
We also saw Scratch see the Rubicante boss. It is Antlion.
Antlion's tough when it has a lot of HP and a lot of strength.
Yeah, so with Antlion there, I think we may see Scratch commit to the Babel play. And yeah, it looks like he's headed up. Having Fusoya and Tella makes that not too hard. Spells work much better since Antlion does not counter them.
Yeah, with this team, it's not going to be a problem at all.
Elmagus having no trouble defeating Karate. With Fusoya, already has White, a very powerful spell.
Valvilus on the throne. Trying to decide if this is a tricky fight or not. Depends on if he has an accuracy in this spot to hit. Elmagus trying to get a nuke off before she goes into her tornado, but it wasn't meant to be. That would have been a one-shot likely. Instead, this is going to be a pretty drawn-out fight.
Oh, so you actually called it Dark Knight at
Oh.
King and Queen spot?
Oh, this is pretty brutal. He's very fast. What you want to do here is throw your battle speed down to 6 and make sure you get a cure off with one of your healers.
Just needs to cure Fusoya or get Edward to hide. But yeah, very fast spot. And Scratch did beeline here, did not check any of the chests, so did not get the extra levels from the trap chests.
Looks like with the amount of damage that the Dark Knight's dishing out, he actually needs to get 2 cure 2s off. He's gonna have to burn one of his cure 3s, likely, and he takes another wipe.
Not too bad to use a cure 3, they are purchasable.
Yep, and he did manage to pick up 20 of them, which they are quite expensive, so he invested a lot of money into them. Invenerable, on the other hand, once he gets there, he's already more than most people.
So Invenerable is opting to do the trap chest fights here. He might get a good item, and we'll get some experience. So might even have more HP on Yang or Sid helping out.
Yep. Elmagus having some trouble, as I kind of anticipated here.
Alright, so Scratch does get the heal and manages to defeat the Dark Knight, getting the Justice text.
Ooh, 74 HP too. Just barely squeaks out a win there.
So think Antlion shouldn't be too hard. Scratch does opt to take the safety save. Always a good option in races to just take that extra safety. But yeah, with the spells from Fusoya and potentially some blinks, Antlion shouldn't be too scary. Elmagus, though, is having a lot of trouble in this Valvalus fight. Seems to be unable to hit her with almost anything.
It's going to be very hard to get past this, I think. He's kind of committed now to fighting this, but we'll see. We see Nightdew doing the same thing here.
So just before he switched, we saw Scratchdragon use a Moonveil on Fusoya, which does make him immune to physical attacks. So that will be a completely risk-free fight at this point for him, so he'll be underground shortly.
And that was against Antlion? I wasn't watching.
Yes, Antlion at Rurikante spot.
And I just want to pop in with a quick update. Elmagus has defeated Val and has gone on to the next boss in that sequence, which is Mylon, very easily defeated.
Perfect. So his persistence pays off, where it looks like Nightdew's actually piecing out.
Yeah, both Nightdew and neerrm walking out of the Barren Waterway.
Yeah, I wonder what they're looking for. I guess they're just saying it's not worth it to try this right now. Let's try and get underground.
Actually, may have noped out because there was Mylon, and now Magus is fighting Plague. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. Either way,
Yeah, the
Done with that.
Mylon and
yeah.
Plague are at Barren Inn.
yeah,
Yeah, he might have.
they must have noped out.
Yeah. He was missing a lot, and even when he was hitting, he was doing very little damage. And Baron Throne Spot has, up past 4,000 health. About, I think it is actually 4,000 health on that spot. So,
Yep.
When you're doing 90 damage per hit, you need to hit 40 times when you're missing half the time. And Valvalis is getting 3 attacks per every one of yours, sort of thing. Yeah.
So Valvalis a bit too hard with this current party, seems like, for everyone. So those headed down the hook route should be pretty far ahead now.
And just a reminder, we're running six players here today, so we're swapping between groups of 3 as the race progresses. Since this is the second match of the finals for our Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise League, we started today with 8 players. We're down to 6, and this race will determine the 4 remaining players to play the very final match, coming up right after this.
So Nightdew looks to be headed on that hook route, just dropped off the hovercraft, but opting to do some shopping first. And River's doing the exact same thing.
I'm in the camp of checking every shop early and just making sure you have all the advantages as soon as possible.
Yeah, especially before heading to a potentially difficult boss like the ones at the hook spots. Definitely want to have all the items that you can.
Yeah, if you miss out on Bacchus or Silkweb even at a store, then and someone else gets it, you might be in a world of hurt. And it doesn't take too long to check all the shops. At the highest level, though, if you skip a shop and you didn't need to go there, that could be the difference maker between winning and losing.
Nightdew even hedging his bets and doing a couple extra boss fights, the easy spots at this dragon.
We got
play a little stronger.
We got a dragon down here. Pale Dim, fairly simple boss considering he's a lunar boss.
So River is heading through Eblon Cave, also skipping all the chests, feeling pretty bold at this point. Now he sees the antlion.
Yeah, and we've so we do have someone through to the underground, right?
I think Scratch should be there by now.
Scratch.
Can confirm
So-
Scratch is not in the underground.
Oh, okay. I wonder what happened there.
There is a lot of HP on that Rubicante spot, so will take a while to get through, especially with MP pool limits.
And as we switch over, we see Invenerable take down Antlion. It's like it's the first one. So 38-45 approximately. Got our first underground access.
So perhaps Scratch's Moonveil wore off before he could finish off Antlion. He has Sid Berserk as well, so he's eating the counterattacks.
It could be too that the Moonveil doesn't guard you against the counterattack, and if he takes a death on that, then with only one Moonveil, you might have to reset.
Right. The Antlion does counterattack against any physical basic attack. So Omega's headed up the tower, Invenerable just heading out. So we should see Invenerable make a pretty quick trip to Self Cave, I would imagine, to use that pan, get 3 key items.
Yeah, and the reason everyone's opting to go through these hard fights to get to the underground rather than even checking any of the moon fights is that they have the pan, so they can easily check 3 key items using the pan and in the Sylph Cave, and they also have the line of summon monsters free item there too. So without doing any fighting, we can check quite a few key items, and as soon as you get that crystal, we already have access to the moon. We can find a way to grind, which is we already have the Fusoya and the Giant of Babel, and we can just go. So it's better to not check the lunar spots if you don't really have to.
So also worth noting, as mentioned in chat, Scratch did not pick up Yang yet, and also off-screen Rivers did not yet. And it's actually not hurting too much right now. Yang would not do that much damage to Antlion.
Scratch has taken a page out of Rivers' play from the first game, skipping Palom and eventually winning the race because of it.
Mm-hmm. It could still unboth Yang from another spot, which will be quicker than doing the package.
Yeah, Yang up until the last boss is going to be just a target for these guys. So I can see skipping that being the right play.
Getting Yang late can actually be helpful if you end up doing a slingshot grind to get him tripled experience and get very high level quickly.
Especially if they do a D-Machine grind, because then they'll get triple experience on that one fight.
Do you know if we've seen Sirens at all?
We have not. Although I haven't seen any of the shops in the underground yet.
Mm-hmm. Also, Invenerable actually has not done Fabul Gauntlet until now, so he's making
What a
a trip
play.
back there.
So he gets, with his pan, he gets to check all of Fabul all at once.
It is a somewhat risky play, taking the hook before going Fabul, because if Magma Key happens to be here, then you end up quite a bit far behind, but ends up paying off for Invenerable, gets a little bit of time savings, not having to double dip the Fabul castle.
And honestly, this might be the game-winning play. He's through underground sooner because of it. He gets to check this entire section out all at once without having to run through multiple times. He's looking just fantastic right now.
So he does get the Baron Key now, so he actually could not have been, I guess, maybe misled by that. We haven't actually seen what items are there.
Yeah, that's true too. He didn't get baited by the Baron Key into a Valvalis that's basically impossible to fight.
So Scratch and elmagus have both now made it past Antlion and getting into the underground.
Yep, and it'll be interesting to see where they go, but I'm guessing the pan is top priority.
So Invenerable ended up with a Bahamut, which is not very useful, but he did also get a pink tail from turning in the pan. So that means he can get an adamant armor since he has the hook, which puts him in a very strong spot for taking on pretty much any boss at this point.
Yep, and one unsung thing that adamant does is gives you 15 wisdom, which makes it so your weeks will never miss a D machine.
So the moon is actually fairly open now, having Adamant and Fusoya fairly powered up. But we may see Invenerable do some of the Underworld or Baron checks first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've seen the Feymarch checks just yet.
Nope,
see
but we do
Scratch headed there now.
Yep. Walking through the Feymark is sometimes lucrative. You can go through and pick up the chest because there's only one chest that has monsters in it. You can reset and then just pick up everything else. But these folks are 44 minutes into the game now and pretty much are done with looting for the most part. They'll pick up stuff if it's literally in their way, but I don't think they're going to be looking to pick up too much more.
And Invenerable should get another little bit of an advantage from this routing, opting to turn in the pan before heading to the Land of Zone monsters, because he will get the Adamant armor now, which makes the Asura and Leviathan spots potentially very doable, even if they are pretty tough bosses.
Yep, it definitely opens up a lot more possibilities for what he can do in that spot. He's probably going to check shops for sirens before he goes down there too, so if he can find some sirens, he can fight a few eggs to make sure that he can fight almost anything.
Okay, so the Feymarch chest is just a protect ring. Not the most useful item. It does help a bit on defense. Strongest defensive ring in the game.
Yeah, it gives you some magic defense, but it gives you a lot of physical defense. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's fine.
Yeah, with already having the Adamant armor, it doesn't do all that much to have that protect ring as well.
Ooh, and we see, I think, Mombomb and Bahamut down in the Feymark.
Bahamut is essentially a free fight as long as you have Star Veils, which I'm sure these runners do at this point. Because you can just reflect the Mega Nuke, which is Bahamut's only damage, and we'll kill it eventually.
He's
a
actually
lot of HP here.
He's actually noping out though. Maybe he hasn't picked up Star Veils yet.
So Scratchdragon nopes out. Elmagus is taking the fight, setting up Star Veils.
He actually just yeah, so he gets the first round off. It's either two or three Mega Nukes to kill Bahamut in this spot, but he's opting to just cast a nuke as well, which makes total sense. 7,500 is a ton of damage with the with Fusoya's nuke.
So Invenerable is actually headed to Baron Castle. I assume he also wants to do the Odin spot as well that's there. Having the Adamant again makes that one pretty doable.
Yeah, we'll see how he does against Valvalis with a bit more strength.
I'm sure he can get through with that Adamant armor, but he might need to swap it onto one of the physical fighters. I'm not sure if Fu can pierce Valvalis at this point.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder how this is gonna go.
Alright, so we'll see if that nuke can connect before she even transforms.
Yeah, and that was the strategy elmagus was trying. But with the Adamant armor on, still not enough speed to get there. And that was after a count run and a first turn Fusoya.
And she still can't even do damage in the tornado form with the nuke. So he's going to have to hope for Yang and Sid to be able to punch it out, or he may take a reset and restructure his party, put Adamant on someone else.
And elmagus doing one of my favorite strats, going in and healing up on the pot on the other side of the Dwarf Castle.
So it looks like Twin Harp was the item from the Bahamut fight at Asura spot.
And Invenerable actually has to reset.
Yeah, and saving all the way outside Baron Castle, so it's kind of painful. If you wanted to walk in again, that's basically another minute investment. Has to do the first fight again as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he checked Odin either. It would have been very bad if he fought and beat Odin, ran up to the throne, thinking he was invincible, and then had to reset them. That would have been painful.
So it looks like Scratch made the same play of delaying Fabul as Invenerable, and now he is cashing in all his key items. He's going to get that pink tail so he can get adamant armor shortly. Elmagus finds, I think, vanilla dolls in Dwarf Castle.
Makes quick work of them, looking for the next boss. When you have Quake, dolls are not a problem, regardless of what spot you
Invenerable at
find
Dwarf Castle as well.
Ooh, and we have Wyvern now. Oh boy. Mega Nuke connects but does not kill elmagus' party, and he's gonna be through with just a nuke. What a scary prospect, though. Elmagus says, "Welcome to Team Wyverns," and collects his...
And Invenerable should have no problem with that fight, already having that adamant armor. I'm not sure if Elmagus has picked that up yet.
haven't seen him pick it up yet. Invenerable actually just going for the nuke right away, and with the adamant armor just takes him down without any even sweat the fight.
A little bit of time saved, skipping the Mega Nuke.
And swapping over to the other set of runners here, we have Rivers and neerrm fighting Bahamut, which we've seen.
River is actually still rocking a 3-man party, not having picked up Yang or Edward yet.
No, Edward's just hiding.
Oh, okay. Tricked me. Nightdew seems to be a bit behind the other runners. Just taking on Antlion now. Should make it to the Underground soon.
Yeah, I believe Nightdew went down to this fight, ran all the way out, checked Baron, and wasn't able to finish it. And that's kind of where he's at now, so he's kind of in the worst position.
So Rivers and neerrm taking down Bahamut within seconds of each other and getting the Twin Harp for their troubles. According to the tracker, Rivers has already picked up the Pinktail. He may have cashed in already, so he may be trying the Mom Bomb with the Adamant Armor.
That spot is very fast and very strong, but not undoable with the party we've got here.
It's almost all physical, and with Adamant Armor, physical attacks are mostly not a huge concern.
Yeah, and once you get to the phase with the small bombs, you can use an hourglass if you'd like. Fusia adamant armor, I think Stardust Roddy's got 2. You can just cast a quick and say GG.
So we see Rivers heading into that Mom Bomb fight. Gonna try to nuke it down with Fusoya, only taking 1 damage per hit because of that Adamant Armor.
While the rest of his party just flops over.
Yeah, there is a lot of HP to get through on this spot, and Mom Bomb has a little bit of extra padding if you want to skip the transform. So it will take a while.
And we'll see if he wants to actually skip the form. It might be faster just to wait for it and use the quick. Just, you do have to worry about Fusuya's limited MP pool.
Not sure if Rivers has many ethers or not. So neerrm does not have that adamant armor yet, so he opted out of the Mom Bomb fight, headed to Dwarf Castle instead. Probably going to do some shopping and then probably check the boss.
And it looks like Nightdew is finally through to the underground.
Alright, so everyone is now able to reach the underground. River is finishing up that fight with a Quake. Should be able to clear all those small bombs. Actually, Sid lived through, so he'll get experience.
It's not bad. It's a good experience spot.
Ooh, he changed just before he saw the item. Looks like it was the tower key at the mom bomb spot.
Interesting. That's
I'm
a
just
good
giving the
pickup.
music the fans want.
Yep. Here we go. I don't have the sound on, so.
So Omega's about to get that music at the Dark Hill spot with the Twin Harp. We also see Scratch back for Valvalis, hoping to take it down with the Adamant Armor. So we have the FF3 boss battle theme.
And we have some Baronin guards guarding the random crystal room inside a cave that shouldn't exist. And Omega's just gonna use coffins to take them out rather than go through the trouble of using an hourglass and all that.
And I will swap back to the other one since we hadn't been there for very long. But music.
Although now you don't get to see what the item is there.
Right, so
River's-
River's headed up the Tower of Babel since he has that tower key. Gonna clear out the Luge spot first, get a check there, and then get the second check from the cannon.
Yep. It's gonna be a lunar boss, but we've already fought Wyvern, so should be able to take out any of the other ones. Oh, Ogopogo is tough though. Really, with Adamant Fusuya though, you're not really worried about anything.
Alright, so neerrm just cleared out the Dwarf Castle, and I believe he gets a Stardust Rod. Yep, Stardust Rod as the item there. Helps out damage a little bit for Fusoya.
And a common mistake against Ogopogo is casting a spell on him, but he counters with Blaze, which does percentage health damage, and he already does percentage health damage with his big waves, so take too many of those and you get wiped out pretty quickly. He's opted to use a Star Veil into some nukes to take him down.
So yeah, this Luge spot, not the toughest, though it does have a lot of HP, I think 18,000 roughly.
Yeah, not as tough as the Feymark bosses, but tougher than the Dwarf Castle boss or anything on the overworld.
Alright, so neerrm is headed to cash in his pan, talk to Sheila. Interesting that he did not do that yet. He fought Bahamut and the Dwarf Castle spots without the Adamant Armor, so that may have cost him a little bit of time.
And we pick the Luca key from the Lugai spot, meaning the underworld accesses might keep going here.
And that's also fairly doable, and you can check it without even fighting the boss as well.
Yep, still a long cave though. So we're gonna hope for this tower key to be something.
Yes, the tower key was at Mom Bomb at the Leviathan spot. Nightdew made it underground doing his checks, and I think he cleared out Bahamut as well.
And we see neerrm. Likely just turning in his pigtail.
So I don't think we've actually seen anyone finish Baron Castle yet, so
We haven't, and if
potential items still sitting there.
this team in general just can't really deal with it, and if there's a important item back there, it'll likely be one of the last things people check.
I would think if they put Sid in the middle with the adamant armor, then he could take down Fabulous with the Berserk. But
He's hitting, but he's not hitting hard enough, so they'll have to get some levels for him.
I see.
If they find an Earth Hammer, they might want to use that slightly C2.
So it looks like the tower key led to the Legend Sword for Rivers. Not the most useful item.
No, and no Cecil in this seed, so no promise of an Excalibur at the end of the day.
Though if I count correctly, that puts Rivers at 10 key items, which means he will now get doubled experience.
This is interesting. Yeah, that's a very good point, because he's got 10 key items and he's headed into the Luca Cave. Is he gonna fight some doors? Looks like no. No one likes fighting doors.
Yeah, with Crystal still missing and potential options to do D-Machine grind fight, Door's probably not the best option.
No, definitely not. It is nice to get it on the way, but they're very slow fights and they don't really give a ton of experience.
Yeah, and as mentioned in chat, he does not have Yang still, so doesn't want to grind without having his full party most likely.
Good point. The other thing is that his characters don't really benefit from levels that much. Well, some of his characters don't. Fusia and Tella don't really get any benefit, and Edward never gets enough HP to survive anything.
So getting the music from neerrm now at Dark Elf spot. Might get to see what that item was. And Earth Crystal and the Sealed Cave.
He's gonna want to keep that.
That's one of those you really don't want to see here, because that's another pretty long check, but you kind of have to keep it, but you don't know if it actually leads to what you need.
At this point, you're committed. You've gone all the way down here. You've picked up an item that, very likely has what you need, or will lead you to something that you need. And if you just skip it right now, you're gonna kick yourself later. Really, their options are to keep doing these kind of minor, long checks on the overworld, or go to the moon. And it doesn't look like anyone's opted to check the moon spots yet.
So vanilla Evil Wall. It does counter spells with the Gradual Petrify spell, but still shouldn't be too hard to take it down with a few nukes. Looks like Rivers Sid is just using a Silver Hammer, which is really the second worst weapon for Sid. So might hurt Rivers that he hasn't picked up a better item.
Yeah, Silver Hammer's not great, but it's it's still fine. All three of his hammers are kind of the same. Earth obviously is better, Silver's obviously worse, but the change in attack power is not that's insanely different.
Interestingly, elmagus has decided to go to the Giant of Babel and do a D-Machine grind fight. Fighting these D-Machines over and over as they get summoned by the Searcher is a very quick way to get experience.
Yep, and then if you toss a life on top of them while they're dying, you get double experience for that D-Machine.
Elmagus is only at 8 key items, so he'll only get regular experience, whereas some of the other runners may get doubled experience if they put this grind fight off to later. So we'll see how that ends up paying off, if the faster grind is better, or if the earlier grind to make some of the boss fights faster is better.
Yep, and with the D machine fight, even without the 10 key items, is still very good, very fast way to get to the point where you can fight Zeromus.
So Invenerable also followed that tower key and now headed down to the sealed cave to get his Earth Crystal. And Scratchdragon looks to be hopping on that path as well, taking on Mom Bomb now. Scratchdragon, worth noting, does not have Yang yet.
Yeah, there's two major paths that people are able to go at this point in the seed, and one of them is the moon, which it looks like elmagus is gearing up to go to, and one is this elongated trail of fetch quest items that everyone else seems to be on. So if the Earth Crystal is something good, or if it leads to something good, then they'll be ahead and elmagus will be behind. But otherwise, he's kind of the one that's doing the other path.
So elmagus grind fight looks to be a bit messy. Edward hiding can kind of throw off the turn order because you want to have someone able to toss lice. And Tella, if he ends up being the one attacking, may end up missing as well. And elmagus finishes his grind fight. Not sure if he meant to finish it off just there, or if Sid did a little more damage than he wanted, but so he got lots of experience, I think 600,000.
He did. He reached level 47 with a lot of his characters, which isn't really enough. But we'll see. Maybe it would be enough if he's going to the moon and he's looking to get more experience down there as well. That might be enough.
Yeah, no exact breakpoints when you don't have the mages trying to get spells, but probably want to break 50 usually with Yang and Sid, in my opinion, before getting to Zeromus. But as you mentioned, more experience on the moon still.
Yeah, and he has benefited because his two fighters are Yang and Sid, who get way more HP than everyone else. So their Zeromus fighting breakpoints are a lot sooner than, say, Edge and Kane would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking more of the damage. Like breaking 50 does quite a bit more for Yang.
Yeah, definitely. You can skew it a bit if you want to throw an adamant armor on one of your fights. But he should be able to get 50 by fighting some of the moon bosses while he's looking for the crystal.
Mm-hmm. So Invenerable heading out of sealed cave using the warp spell to get out of there quickly. You can't exit, but you can warp one level at a time.
Yep, and some of the screens are worth warping and some of them aren't.
elmagus is headed to the moon now that he's got his levels. So he'll be hunting for the crystal in all those boss spots.
He makes an MLG landing right on top of the only section there.
Just want to pop in and report that we did finally have someone make it through Baron Castle, and the reward looks to have been a sand ruby, which is, now that they have Fu, completely pointless.
Well, that's 1/10 of the way to more experience, I guess.
There is the Odin spot check as well, which
they're heading to now.
Not yet. Mm-hmm. So still could be crystal behind that Baron key.
But man, does that feel bad if you spend that much time obsessing over the Valval spot and it ends up being something that you know is useless.
So Odin at Bahamut for elmagus.
And speaking of Odin, we have the Fabul Gauntlet at Odin. So Nightdew, who is the one who made it through, is attempting that.
Not what you wanted to see.
No.
Yeah, that's going to be a slow one, but he's kind of committed, hoping that pays off. So on screen, the Odin fight Bahamut. Odin does hit pretty hard, but single target for now. Just need to kill him before he uses that Odin spell on the whole party.
Yep, and you shouldn't have too much trouble doing so.
Yeah, with all those levels, the adamant armor doing lots of damage. Kusoi is doing almost max damage from Quake.
I could be wrong, but if he healed up Yang, he might actually be able to survive the Odin strike there too.
Does get the kill just before the Odin strike.
Yep.
And do we have value?
We do not.
Crystal at Cave Bahamut, but it's Crystal Sword.
Can't even throw it even if he had edge.
Alright, so switching screens, we have that Fabul Gauntlet at Odin, as we mentioned, for Nightdew. neerrm finishing up the Baron King fight, may head to the Odin spot as well. Rivers headed up Tower of Zot with that Earth Crystal from the Sealed Cave.
Yep, as the Earth spot will be very interesting, but if it doesn't lead anywhere, then I feel like elmagus is very far ahead.
Mm-hmm. So Fabul Gauntlet is annoying, but not too hard with this party.
No, you're basically holding A or well, you're just going through the motions and watching your timer tick by.
We have the Four Fiends fight at the Mega Sisters spot for Rivers. We'll see if he actually gets through all four, if he manages to kill them in the Mylon or Rubicante phase.
Just takes him down with the Fire 3.
Yeah. Fire 3 max damage, doing enough to outright kill before getting the transform.
Yeah, 4x damage on the elements with the right element.
So we see Yang here. I believe that is River's first Yang.
neerrm actually checking very specific chests in the bottom of Baron, which leads me to believe he's been down here before. And he's not going to be too happy when he sees the Fabul Gauntlet either.
He probably will commit to it as well at this point, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Quake should take out most of these fights pretty easily. The Gargoyle, of course, is immune to Quake.
Gargoyle is also weak sauce and can just die from one of anything, so.
Alright, so Nightdew finishing up that fight, and unfortunately only gets the Adamant for defeating the Fabul Gauntlet.
What a red herring Baron has been this whole run. It was the last thing that people checked with their pre-Underworld checks, and it turned out to be a tough boss that no one could beat until later. And even when that's done, just didn't lead anywhere.
Alright, so River is finishing up the Octomom fight at Tower of Zot. We'll see what item he gets. Looks like he did intentionally kill off Yang so that he can slingshot him. Keeping him low level means he will get triplet experience.
Right, so he just picked him up here in the tower. Oh, picks up just a weapon. Couch cash, if it were.
So I think that means Crystal has to be on Moon. Is there anything else left that you remember?
Well, checked all 3 super bosses on the overworld. Checked the tower, checked Luca Cave, checked Dwarf Castle, Feymark. Yeah, no, it's got to be on the Moon.
And it wasn't on the first boss in the subterrane that Magus went to find. It was the Baron guards, the Kaipo guards, and it gave him the pass.
Oh, interesting. So if he has to go back to the overworld to find the crystal through a fetch quest, which I don't think there's very many left of, then he'll be able to get to the Zeromus quicker. But I'm thinking that, well, we know the crystal has to be on the moon now, so it's just a matter of time now. And
so
everyone else
Elmagus looks to be in the lead now, being that he's already at least somewhat grinded and is on the right track, clearing out the moon, paying off not doing all those checks in the overworld.
Yeah, he has not done the tower into Lukaki into Earth Crystal chain that leads nowhere, and he hasn't done any of the Barren Castle spots, which leads nowhere. So once he finishes, and he'll finish without any of those things having been done, and be a clear favorite here.
And Rivers, I think, is not too far behind as long as he heads to the moon next. Rivers is doing a grind now, and Invenerable is just a bit behind Rivers.
And I'm sure all of these runners are kicking themselves, saying, "Oh man, Giant Grind was available to me. When was it? Like 15 minutes into the game." I'm wondering who else has done it.
So Edward doing some big damage to Asura. I assume that's with a Mute Dagger getting the quadruple damage.
It's a sneaky ninja with the image on and the dagger in hand.
And reflecting the nukes to bypass the wall and the counter. Very good play there.
Inven with the memes.
Sharing his thoughts on that Murasame from Zot.
He's not going to be too happy once it gets through here. I wonder what else is.
Yeah, so Invenerable getting baited by all of the fruitless quests.
So now the question becomes, it looks like elmagus is going to finish first, and we know where the crystal is, but that's not really the point of this race. We're actually mostly concerned with who is going to be their bottom two. What's it looking like on that front?
Well, I think Nightdew and neerrm may be behind in that they did the whole Fabul Gauntlet at Barren Castle, but we'll see how many of the other checks they end up chasing. Scratch is following the same chains as Invenerable and Rivers, but a little bit behind on those chains.
Yeah, it's different. Invenerable's likely going to check all of Barren after this, so he's in the same boat. Scratchdragon was by far the latest to finish. Or was it? One of our players took a long time to get underground.
Nightdew was the last
Nightdew,
one underground, but may end up catching up if he doesn't check everything that everyone else did.
Yeah.
He may figure he was slow to start, so may make the more aggressive play to the moon.
I'm actually surprised that we didn't have more people go to the moon with this party much earlier.
Yeah, it's interesting because as soon as I had admin armor, there's pretty much not much concern with moon bosses.
Yeah. You're not getting a ton stronger with Fusia, adamant armor, and a bunch of meat.
Alright, elmagus finally takes down Asura. And I think that is the D-linear spot, so there'll be 2 chests to check.
Here we go.
Ooh, Drain Spear and Spoon.
And we know elmagus is on the right track, but he might be thinking, what if I had to check these things on the overworld?
It does put him, I think, at 10, so the remaining bosses will be doubled experience. I'll help out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So Invenerable clearing out the Baron King fight. We'll see if he commits to the Fabul Gauntlet in the basement as well, or decides that he just needs to cut his losses and head to the moon.
Yeah, I think he checks it. In everyone's case, you check it, you see that as the Fabul Gauntlet, but you're so invested in this chain of events that if it's there, you're good, and if it's not there, you still have to do it.
Yeah, so elmagus saw the CPU at the plague spot and decided to reset out of it. Not the best party setup for it. You can do the trick we saw earlier, where you reflect float and try to get it onto the attacker so you can quake away. But that is a 50-50 chance.
Ooh, that's not a good spot to be in. Or that's not a good boss to be in on the pogo spot, though. Fortunately, he's got the adamant armor, so.
Yeah, and with Veils, Golbez isn't too scary. You can reflect his spells back at him. Just hopefully Fusoya gets to live. I guess adamant armor should guarantee that, right?
Yeah, he definitely gets to live. The problem with the Veils in this fight is they run. If they run out, you're in a little. But again, with the adamant armor, you're not taking damage.
Right. The virus is actually probably the scariest one since it's non-elemental and adamant covers the elemental resists.
Yep.
Alright, so Invenerable sees the Fabul Gauntlet. We'll see if he decides to commit to it or not. Looks like he will take it. He's gonna be disappointed again. Maybe back to the Angry Dome.
Scratchdragon picking up his Marasame. Taking a nap because it wasn't what he wanted.
The reflected lit 3 doing 7,000 damage to Golbez. Very high magic stat actually helps you out here.
Ooh. elmagus actually has a problem where he didn't heal his MP.
Can technically get by just off the reflected damage.
It's gonna be scary though.
So either no ethers or he figures it's not worth. He just wants to wait for the reflect damage. The spells are coming out very fast. Slightly miscalculated that first attack.
He's trying to trigger the dialogue with the fighting.
There we go. So
There we go. He does it.
Golbez down. Let's see what we get. And the
Oh.
ribbon. Not the worst item, but not the crystal.
Now, is he gonna go cabin up and try the CPU again? Or, there's still potential for him to being like, I don't want to do. Oh boy.
Looks like he's trying to warp, head back to that wyvern spot. Yeah, I remember an earlier race, elmagus just tried that CPU like 4 or 5 times and kept getting the float reflect on the wrong one, so he may be having flashback to that and not want to deal with it again.
He's got some PTSD.
So some questions in chat about Golbez. You need to do direct damage to get him to say why and finish him off. And it's so once he has taken enough damage, which is basically the boss's total health, and then direct damage will trigger that ending script.
Yeah, it's not a necessity to beat the boss, but you can beat him without him being completely dead. that works for Rubicante too, but you don't almost never see that.
So Rivers, neerrm, and Nightdew all now on the moon. That's good for them. Rivers at least has done a grind fight. 6,000 HP on Yang. So that was the slingshot play with the tripled experience, 6 times normal since he has 10 key items. I really like this play, having a really high level Yang.
Yeah, he's gonna have no problems with damage, with him being at something like level 60.
Looks like neerrm also grinded up. His characters are in the 50s. Nightdew is only in the 30s though. So hoping to catch up with the boss experience.
And Nightdew making some risky plays because he thinks he's behind, and you know, with him getting into the underground last, he kind of is. So
Yeah.
if he can fight these bosses and get the experience without having to do the D machine grind, then you know that might be the play that puts him back in the game.
Yeah, definitely the play he needs to make to try to catch up. And skipping some of those checks in the underground didn't bother with the tower key or sealed cave or tower zot.
Yeah, he missed a big chain of nothing, which is really nice.
So neerrm fighting that Odin spot at Bahamut, I believe. And we know that does not turn up the crystal. River is following in tracks of elmagus as well, a little bit further down in the moon. Let's see if
At least
Nightdew can actually make it through this Asura fight.
Yep, with careful play and an adamanted up Yang, he should be able to get there. He's got the wall on Ashura. He's just gonna wait it out and see if it works. Yeah, I think it will. Might just be a long fight.
Yeah, the wall on the Asura reflects the cures back onto your party, and Asura only does damage with the counter attacks. So as long as you make sure to play a little bit slow and cure up, you should be able to make it through.
And we see Rivers trying the float strat, it looks like.
So he could be the first one to take on or to take down the CPU if this works out.
And it's 50-50 shot of it being the crystal, I think. I think we've looked at everything now. Other than the Wyvern spot, which elmagus is checking. Oh. He's just casting Meteor.
Yeah, so this is one way to do it. Just try to kill the CPU before he revives the orbs, or just go for a second round. There will be 2 Globe 199s, which instantly kill someone. But with 5 characters, it's not too terrible.
Ugh, gets a hit on Fusia after he casts a Star Veil on himself, though. Unlucky.
Would have been nice to get that nuke reflected. With the attacker and defender down, that would have been a guaranteed hit on the CPU for very good damage.
Okay. And one thing you can do here, it's not going to benefit Rivers too much, but if you continually kill the attacker and defender and just life up after he uses the globes, you actually can multiply the experience from this fight by quite a bit.
So I just want to pop in and report officially that the rat tail, which Magus picked up, I'm not sure which fight, does lead to the crystal. I believe it was the Rubicante fight. I saw him fighting Rubicante. So wherever they are sitting is where the crystal is.
Yeah, so
That's
that
gotta
rat
be
tail
the
was
Wyvern.
from Wyvern.
Yeah.
So elmagus ended up making the right choice, skipping CPU. So Rivers will have to probably do the Ogopogo spot and then back up for that.
And Magus didn't choose the Wyvern mascot for no reason. He's just helping him out here in the second match of the finals here in our Zemus to the Zemus-Zone tournament here.
Did you see what the item actually was from the CPU fight?
I did not.
It was the Dragoon Spear.
Oh yeah, I did see.
Dragoon Spear.
again, not super useful when you can't use
useful
King.
without a Dragoon to use it.
And that's one of the difficult parts of the C3 seed is a lot of times you can craft your party based on what crazy items you've gotten, but with only 5 characters available, you get a lot less power. Elmagus dashing to Zemus feels super confident.
Mm-hmm. So because the rat tail led to the crystal, they do have to leave the moon. So actually picking up that pass can end up being beneficial.
Absolutely. We're going to have Clawless Yang do most of the damage here.
So Omega's in a clear lead now, headed to the final fight. Everyone else is on the moon at this point, so it's kind of anyone's game for second.
Absolutely.
Most people do tend to check that Wyvern spot last, although if someone ends up checking it early, they may be able to pull ahead because of that.
We'll have to keep our eye on the people who are behind to see what it's going to look like on the back end of this race.
Mm-hmm. So coming to this Aruma's fight for Elmagus, I expect a Berserk on Sid and Yang, and then Fusoya just healing. Might try to put some nukes in, although that means more strain on Fusoya's limited MP pool.
Yep, and I don't see... Well, he's got a stack of Ether 1s, but 1 Ether 1 equals 1 nuke, so... Or 1 Gear 4.
Yeah, the nice thing about this party, very high health on Yang and Sid, so able to survive big bangs.
Oh, yes.
Not actually familiar with this spray.
Oh, this is Metaton from Undertale.
Undertale, yeah. It's beautiful.
That's what I guessed based on the art style.
Yep. Did you just flip my switch?
I've played like an hour of Undertale, and then I got distracted with other games.
Fair enough. As Elmagus fights Metaton here, we can watch our ratings go up. I mean, what? Oh, wrong game.
So if I'm not mistaken, that is a wooden hammer for Sid and no weapons for Yang.
That's true, yeah. Yang doesn't get any attack power from his weapons, so if he hasn't found any cat claw, really the only one would that benefit him by giving him agility and strength.
You do lose a little accuracy, I think, by going barehanded, but at this level it's a very small amount.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if he actually didn't find any better weapons, or if he knows no one else has finished and just having a little fun.
I don't think he took the claws off specifically. I saw him go into his inventory to equip the adamant armor, so he probably just doesn't have anything. He probably had to take off the fire claw to fight Rubicante, and then just left it that way.
So it actually has kept Edward and Tella alive so far by nerfing the big bangs. Could hide Edward for safety, but doesn't really need to with these HP pools. Tella helping out a little bit with the Cure 4. Single target, only 6.
Got a little bit. Well, okay, single target Cure 4 just heals you to your maximum HP, so that was a set amount of HP, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the maximum that Tella could do.
So he is getting in a few nukes, reflecting off of Edward for some extra damage. And pumping those Ether 1s into Fusoya to make sure he still has MP left.
Yep, that's what the Bard's job is, to toss Ether 1s at Fusoya for the entire fight, looks like. Oh yeah, that's one potential reason to take off claws. Well, it would be the same with one claw, but Yang's punching animation with one claw is half as long as as with no or two claws. Save your frames.
So, can either of you answer for me, why is there an Undertale character up on the screen right now?
So, the brilliant, fabulous developers of Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise decided that fighting Zeromus at the end of every run would be boring, so they have added over 200 different final boss sprites to be randomized per seed for our entertainment. There's lots of really, really cool ones. This one included.
And just to note, the battle script stays the same, it's just the sprite which changes.
Yep, we're always going to be dealing with big bangs and black hole nukes and viruses and meteors.
So an off-screen update, Rivers has picked up that crystal and is headed to Zeromus. He has to go through the lunar subterranean. He did not get the pass, but he should be coming up a little bit behind, looking to be in second.
Yeah, and neerrm does have the rat tail, which leads to the crystal, but is currently still fighting moon bosses.
Interesting. So neerrm not believing in the rat tail, which is makes a lot of sense. We see Invenerable using the same strategy used in the last race, where he reflects a float onto the attacker. He's quite proficient at that. It seems like his preferred way of fighting the CPU.
Where proficient means getting the coin toss to come out in your favor.
Proficient. It's all skill.
Yes, neerrm is currently off-screen, so we're just giving you an off-screen update as there's 6 runners and we cannot fit that many on the screen and still have it viewable.
Omega's still chipping away, making it to that final media phase, so should be finishing up shortly. All this HP, no real concern of wiping to the media at this point.
Yeah, and elmagus, considering how many things he's skipped, he's got to feel pretty good about where he's at this point, and he's probably pretty confident about how he played this seed. So we've had 2 crystals on the moon, well, more or less, for our first 2 races here today. We have 1 race left to go. What do you think the chances are of the crystal being on the moon for a 3rd time in a row?
Sounds like it's always there, so 100%.
GG!
Alright, GG to elmagus, finishing in first with an official time of 1:36:54.
Nightdew looking like he's going to pick up his rat tail pretty soon here.
Swapping back to the other racers, we see Rivers just about getting to Zeromus. neerrm still fighting bosses, even though he does have the rat tail, which we know, though he does not, is actually the path to the crystal.
With Nightdew fighting Rubicante to get his rat tail, we have a really close race on our hands, it looks like, for the rest of the slots.
Important to note, though, Nightdew is much lower level still, so he will need to grind before fighting Zeromus.
He will be down on damage, but it looks like he'll be able to survive the fight. He might be slower, but he might be okay just to go.
This is true, although even at 2.300, Sid is looking a little bit scary, in my opinion.
Slightly.
But we'll see. See if he chases that rat tail, and see if he grinds.
It will really depend. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Is he just doing the Cosmic Brain 3000 IQ plays?
He knows he's behind, so he's committing to it. I like it. And we are joined by elmagus. GG, sir.
GG.
Hey.
So how'd you feel about your routing on the end game?
I mean, the routing in itself was fine. The party was not, but you know. I don't know. I was constantly worried, obviously, that Baron had something, but you know, at the same
Yeah.
time, I couldn't go back there really. So
Baron was a gigantic troll that almost everyone fell into. Valvalis was on the throne and no one could fight her, and eventually led to the adamant. So
And the Bull Gauntlet at Odin spot led to nothing as well.
oh man, okay.
Yep.
So what was your rationale behind heading to that grind and heading to the moon? You were the first to do that by quite a bit.
Yeah, so at that point, yeah, like I said, I had Baron left, so I could have gone back there, but I was like, well, it's just like 2 spots, and I had 2 bosses underground essentially. So it's like, okay, it's essentially 50-50. I have to grind anyways eventually. I don't really have tanky items, but that's fine because we're going to do D-Machine anyways, so... And then I was just hoping that the crystal was on the moon. Because, like, yeah. And, yeah, fortunately it was. And then halfway through the moon I noticed I don't have cabins. That was... Oh my god.
I noticed that too.
Oh, I somehow made it through. I just left 1 boss somehow, but yeah. That was definitely, my heart really sank down when I realized I didn't have cabins, but I had to go with it, and it somehow worked out. Somehow.
And
Somehow
it
I
looked
did.
like you were rocking a wooden hammer and
Yep.
bare-fisted Yang. Was that the best you had, or was that just for fun?
Well, that was the best I had, really. Like, I accidentally sold my silver hammer, which would have been the second best I had, but yeah. Other than that, I mean, Yang barehanded, I only had that because I fought Ruby and wanted to unequip the fire claws. It doesn't matter too much
Makes
whether
sense.
he's like barehanded or has a claw on. It's just a bit of you know, accuracy. And with the adamant, I was like, whatever. Don't really need to equip the claw. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We have Rivers fighting Zemus right now, but everyone else is still going through the motions here of finding what they need to finish up here.
Alright, so any final thoughts from you, elmagus, before the final race?
Can we just dodge Tella and Edward, please? Next time. Thank you.
Alright, thank you.
Alright, we'll see you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
And with that, we have Rivers fighting Zemus. Let's see, we have Nightdew heading down there. I don't think he's going to do any more. Oh, he might. neerrm still fighting his lunar bosses. Doesn't need to know that he has what he needs.
Yep, going for that full clear moon. It's going to end up
it's going to be
costing him, potentially.
close. Oh, Nightdew's turned on his encounters.
I guess no sirens. I guess we didn't see any, did we?
Yeah. I don't blame him for running away from D-Bones either. They have a lot of...
Yeah, this is the fight you want to see, the double kangaroos.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have like a... Oh no, he does have a fantastic way of fighting them. He's weak.
Yeah. And even life to them for basically infinite grind, as we saw a certain racer do in an earlier match to unfortunate results.
Doesn't have really the P pool to do that though.
So he's probably going to want to find a few more of these, I would guess. Although probably not going to waste too much time here.
180,000 experience just might be enough for him to feel confident enough to fight the boss.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see where he feels comfortable. There's no strict point where you need to hit with this party.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it looks like Sid on River's side actually has an axe.
And Nightdew switching encounters off, so it looks like he is happy with that amount.
And it didn't take him too long to find that fight with a Siren either, which is he's probably pretty happy about.
So River's fight looks similar to elmagus, just berserking Yang and Sid, although he's hiding Edward for safety. Yeah, as you mentioned, his Sid a little bit stronger with that axe.
Yep. I think he should be using his off turns to make sure Fusia doesn't run out of MP, but he might not have.
Alright, and media phase for Rivers, so should be finishing up in just under a minute.
Yeah, what a great result for Rivers, coming first place in the first race and second in the second. Same with elmagus coming second in the first and in the second.
And GG Rivers, final time of 1:43.52. second place for him.
Swapping over, it looks like Scratchdragon is actually entering his fight right now. And Invenerable is actually heading back to get his... He looks like he's got the rat tail. He's heading back to check it now.
And
But-
he does have the pass, so he will be pretty close behind, and I imagine he has higher levels than Nightdew, so could end up
it'll
going
be
ahead.
close.
And yeah, not currently pictured. We also have Scratchdragon just starting the Zemus fight, almost in sync with Nightdew. Or sorry, I just had that swap.
Other way
Nightdew's
around.
about to start the Zemus fight. Scratchdragon is on screen.
The point is, it's hype as heck.
Yeah, playing for third and fourth, the last two spots to advance, going to be very close.
Yeah, neerrm actually, by fighting the rest of the lunar bosses, is might be the one that's at the most disadvantaged right now.
Yeah, neerrm is headed back now to cash in that rat tail, but according to his tracker, he did not actually pick up the pass, so he cleared out everything except the one that would have helped him.
Oh.
Invenerable optimizing the equipment. I think he just needs to go. Just do the adamant swap and just go. Fusilier doesn't need that extra defense. So we see Scratch fighting Zemus. I imagine similar fights for all of them. Scratch also opting to reflect the nukes for some extra damage.
Yep. I think the only one of our runners who should feel a little worried about the Zemus fight is going to be Nightdew, since his levels are a little sketch compared to everyone else's, but everyone else did a D-machine grind to get up there.
And it looks like Scratch did not have any Bacchus wine left, so it's going to be a little bit slower, having to berserk them with spells.
But at this point, he's well into his fight.
He may actually just be going for Reflect to finish it.
Oh, could be.
Yeah, he does have Bacchus sitting there, but he's opting not to use it. So I guess we should explain the trick here. So if you damage Zemus after the first 45,000 HP, then he will refill his HP pool, so you have to do an extra 60,000. But if you use reflected damage, that will skip the refill, and you only have to do half as much. So he was able to do regular damage up until that 45,000 breakpoint, and now just reflecting for the remaining HP.
Yeah, and Zemus sits with 61,000 HP, so you only have to do that for the last few nukes to kind of skip the latter half of the fight. And that's what he's going for. He's got Ether 2s, he's got a Dream, and it looks like he's going to pull it off. He's one
Very
more.
impressive to pull that off with a randomized party, no less.
Not just a randomized party, but only one spellcaster that can actually do anything.
So assuming Scratch can pull this off, then he should be taking third, and it's going to be a race for the last spot between, I think, Inven and Nightdew.
neerrm starting the Zemus fight now, but he's gonna wish that he didn't. Well, he's gonna wish that he did the lunar fights in a different order.
If neerrm pulls out a really fast fight, maybe it's the same thing as Scratch. He could end up even pulling it out in fourth.
Yeah, or if somehow he Inven and Nightdew both wipe, that could be a thing too. But
very close finish all around. And we're joined by Rivers. Congrats on your second place finish. Great run.
congratulations.
Thanks, guys. How's it going?
Oh, what a race. The amount of troll pathways to absolutely nothing in this seed was fun to watch.
The one thing I had on my side was failing Baron early. I kind of wanted to wait it out and see if anybody actually finished early, because if they had that, I knew, I'd have to go back there. But since it didn't happen, I just knew there was nothing there.
Yeah, so pretty much everybody tried that and failed that. So it was actually the thing that caught people is if they actually got through that fight. Because it was Fabul Gauntlet at Odin.
Oh,
Which also led to nothing. So how'd you feel about your route in general?
I mean, it could have been cleaner. I had some fatigue with remembering shop locations. Like I tried to get some Ether 2s, and I think I went to the wrong shop once. But other than that, pretty happy overall.
Alright, quick interrupt to this interview. Scratchdragon just finished in third with a time of 1:49.39. So now it's going to come down to a three-way race for the last spot. neerrm, Inven, and Nightdew all in the final fight.
Then it'll depend on how strong the party is and how fast they can do this fight, and trying to mitigate any mistakes that they might make.
So Rivers, you had some interesting plays around Yang, getting him very late. Talk us through your choices around Yang and when you chose to pick him up.
Well, I mean, he was part of the Earth Crystal package. I didn't really have a choice on that one, but I figured I would hold off packaging him as late as I could, so I could see if I could slingshot him with the levels. And when I went to do V-Machine Grind, because I figured pretty much everybody would wind up there, I got the slingshot with him to get him to like level 60 or something, and yeah, that made things a lot easier at the final boss.
Absolutely, he's dishing out a ton of damage at that point.
Alright, so any final thoughts, Rivers?
No, my final thought is now I'd like to eat some food before the next match, so I'm gonna do that.
Alright,
Good plan.
GG.
See you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Alright, so as we see these final fights, it looks like neerrm actually has the best equipment on Yang and Sid. Some sort of axe, and it looks like cat claws on Yang, so he's actually doing damage faster than anybody else. So that might give him the edge, though Nightdew's already on the Medio phase.
Yeah, Nightdew's gonna finish up here. What a comeback from him, skipping a lot of things, not doing the D-Machine grind to try and get ahead, and there he goes. There's our fourth contestant for the very final round.
Alright, GG to Nightdew, fourth place with 151.43.
Clawed his way back into this race.
Alright, so I think we are joined by Scratchdragon, our third place finisher, for an interview. GG to you.
GG's, guys. What a race.
He was.
I was fairly certain that all the abandonment of not doing Twin Harp, not doing Baron Castle, skipping CPU, I was sure I was there like, all right, we lost, whatever. If I lose, I lose.
Yeah, it ended up you skipped the right things, because Baron led to a lot of troll that didn't lead anywhere. CPU didn't lead anywhere, and you got what you needed.
Yeah. The thing I was most worried about was actually the Zeromus fight, because I was very undergeared. I skipped a lot of treasure chests. I didn't really have anything except Adamant, Fusoya, and a Dream.
Absolutely. So how do you think the early game was quite difficult as well? Like everyone was getting stuck on going underground there. How'd you feel up until that point? Where did you think you were?
mean, the underground wasn't too bad, because I've just messed up the fights a few times with the Dark Knight Sea, so I messed up the timing, and then the first time I fought Antlion, I used a Moon Veil on Fu with no ethers, so I had to reset and just use it on Sid instead, so he can just do some damage. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. Ooh,
Good stuff.
what a race!
What a race.
I need to get some water. Jeez.
Yeah, go fuel up for your final match here coming up
Alright.
soon.
GG.
But before I go, told y'all, clean your necks. Coming for that top spot.
Alright,
Right.
good
Well,
luck
the
to you in
challenge is
finals.
The challenge is sent to the rest of the players here.
All right, and we're joined by neerrm, our 5th place finisher. GG on your run.
GG neerrm.
Good game. To everyone that finished above me.
It was so close near the end there. Pretty quickly in the underground, but it opted to check the rest of the bosses, which kind of led to getting behind everyone else. How do you think your routing was in general?
I was really happy with how it played out until I ran into Baron and ran into Valvalus, and then that cost me 1 billion years, and then I went back for some reason, and that cost me another 1 billion years. So I feel like that was my only true major mistake, was going back into Baron when I could have, gone elsewhere.
Yeah, we actually didn't see almost anyone go to the moon early, other than to grab the character. And most players got caught by the big line of Earth Crystal key items and Baron as well. How about the early game? The up until getting through the tower, how was that for you?
I was actually really happy with how it played out, because I saw Fusoya in the bed at Kaipo really early, so I knew he was lurking around somewhere, and I thought, maybe if I can find him somewhere. So that really incentivized like character locations early on, and then I found him on the moon, which was great. And then I felt like early I was doing well, and then it all fell apart after that.
All right, and unfortunately you're going to be one of our eliminated players here, but how do you think how was your experience throughout this entire tournament?
It was pretty good. Definitely a much different format than the things we've done in the past, and there was definitely a lot of interest in the tournament itself, probably more so than I anticipated. So it's nice to change it up a bit, and I'm happy that some new faces are going into the Final Four here in Scratchdragon and Nightdew, and both of you, which I think one of you is in here, you better beat those two.
Consider a definite try at it, but I'm also glad to hear I'm not the only one who lost 1 million years at Valvalus.
Oh, I forgot about Val. I was busy thinking of the time I spent on Asura and CPU and Golbez. Val had already a fading memory at this point.
Yeah, there was a big sticking point for a lot of the runners.
Yeah, once I got to like the hour-and-a-half mark and no one was done, I'm like, well, crap. Any of these lengthy bosses could be the reason no one's finished. I can't just reset out of them. I should have reset out of them.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, how do you think your routing went?
I mean, it was fine. It didn't beat my head against the wall at Val too bad the first time, and when I came back, I knew it'd be fine with Yang in the middle plus the Adamant, so I knew I'd get her down, and again, time's ticking, no one's finished, and there are just so many roadblocks on that seed that you can get through, but okay, I see this costs someone, 3-4 minutes, this costs someone 3-4 minutes. Which one is it? Needle in a haystack, and I routed very poorly, ended up doing everything but Cave Bahamut, so yeah, that's no good.
Well, at least you skipped that. That was a dead end as well.
Well, anyway, Nightdew, it's all you, buddy. Rooting for you.
No pressure.
All right. GG, man.
See ya.
All right, thank you, Invenerable. And Nightdew, how do you feel about your run? And congrats on advancing to the finals.
I mean, Invenerable actually hit most of the key points there. I mean, I'm feeling super awesome when I decided, hey, we got the Mist Dragon up at Hobbs, we got the Darkness Crystal. I didn't even check the bed at Kaipo, but I'm thinking, okay, I should have checked the bed at Kaipo. I have no idea why I didn't. So I'm running up there and I find Fu preloaded with Ice 3 and Lit 2, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm hoping everybody didn't check this like immediately. I don't know how fast they did or not, but
Yeah, everyone ended up checking within about 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, he was basically required. Well, not required, but it was the way to go to get to the underground for sure. So you were the last one to actually get through the tower into the underground, but you managed to pull it back by not doing a deer machine grind, not doing a big chain of events that led to the Earth Crystal being nothing and Baron. How do you feel about your routing?
I mean, part of me was I had this kind of plan here. I wasn't gonna go to D Machine, even though I had Fu and Tella, but I kind of figured, okay, we figured out the Siren list really fast. I said, okay, 10 key items. The moon will have all the XP I need. Of course, if anybody saw me use that siren right outside of Lunar Subterrane 7 to pick up a trigger, I almost thought that cost me like the race there, because that was like 180,000 experience that was not coming back. But I just kind of figured, especially like I know he said Asura, which was just basically the Young Adamant show with Fusoya just kind of chipping in. But yeah, besides that, it was just. It was a slog. I don't feel too bad about my routing. I just had a plan and went with it, and it got me just there.
Just barely got you there. The four of you fighting for those last two spots, all in the Zemus fight at the same time. That was quite a wonder to watch.
That was a very interesting Zemus fight. Pretty much a Yang solo and Sid chemist there, but I could not find any good armor for him.
Yeah, well, there's the one automat armor, and then there wasn't much else on anyone's screen.
All right, well, let's see if my heart can take one more round, but I'll let you guys get back to it here, and GG to everybody again.
Yeah, go fuel up, and
good
we'll
luck.
see you soon. Good luck.
All right, thanks.
Cheers. All right, and with that, we have one more race to go to crown our champion here today. What a great couple of races.
Absolutely. A pleasure to be able to commentate this and commentate with you, Obda.
Yeah, you as well. And I think we have two more commentators gonna jump in here for the last race once we set up and everyone's had a chance to get a bite to eat and get their coffee or water or what have you. Strap in because it's gonna be a good one.
That
and
is...
thanks again as well to Natara for restreaming and to our two trackers.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and thank you to both of you for commentating, and of course to both of our trackers. A lot of work doing all of this, so do be sure to give them all a follow. Penguinator beat me to the typing, but we are going to just have a little break here. Again, our runners have just run, all of the top four have just run a few in a row, or two in a row. Actually, though, we do have a minor announcement coming up. And we can go to that now-ish. One moment there. So we're just going to let you chill with some music, and we will be back, well, probably now, it looks like. So let me hop into I'm going to unmute our lovely folks here. Hopefully not catch them off guard. And we will get right to that. So one moment. Okay, so I'm going to hand everything over to riversmccown to explain.
Hey everybody, so it's been commented to me once or twice before, or maybe like 30 times, that free enterprise is kind of like poker and that you can make the right plays and still get beat. I kind of liked that thing. I wanted to run with it. So let me introduce our next big event. It's the World Series of Free Enterprise. If you're unfamiliar with the World Series of Poker, they have events for different types of poker. They have stud, they have no limit is obviously the most, normalized version, but there are tons of them. Using that template, we're going to create a series of small mini tournaments of qualifiers and a final table. These tournaments will all have different flag sets. We might see an Apple percent or shopping percent event. We might see a giant percent event. We might have a K4 event. Lots of possibilities on the table. We'll have a forum opened up in the Discord for people to discuss and answer polls about how they'd want each general category to be flagged. This will start post AGDQ. If you don't know, we are actually going to be at AGDQ as well, and we'll probably start signups closer to December. So that is our event update, Natara.
Well, thank you so much. So look forward to that in the new year for some more information. And I know if you're someone who's like me, who's a little more casual when it comes to playing this could be a lot of fun just to try things out and just play your hand at a bunch of the different types of flag sets, find the one you want, and hopefully we'll have some fun. So we are going to go back and we're going to chill here with our Z sprites while everyone's getting ready, and we'll be back soon.